What's up guys, welcome to the channel. So today I'm going to go over my Mystic Mine deck that I used today in locals and I got second place with. I didn't go undefeated, but one of the people that defeated me playing a Phantom Knight deck, I ended up beating them in the top 8 and eventually losing to Sky Striker. This deck just can't beat Sky Striker. That's the only deck that it really doesn't have a chance at. They can just search everything they need to get out of it. Since I got second place, I actually got 8 packs of Genesis Impact. I could choose, and I just chose Genesis Impact, hoping I'd pull something good, but I didn't really get anything good, but I'll go ahead and show the unopening of those real quick. Like I said, I didn't really get anything good, but that's alright. I mean, hey, it was free, right? So I can't complain. Anyways, let's get into the profile here. To start it off, of course, we have 3 Mystic Mine. This is the best card in the deck, obviously. This card's goated. I really like it. A lot of people hate it, but at the locals, there's only one guy who really got mad about it. But if you just play smart, you can beat Mystic Mine pretty easily. Just a lot of people don't know how to beat it. But the deck really isn't that hard to beat. I mean, Anti-Spell Fragrance is basically an auto win. It turns off Demise of the Land. If you side in Solemn Judgment, that really hurts. Twin Twisters, Cosmic Cyclone. I mean, there's plenty of ways to beat the deck. And next up, we have Demise of the Land. This card is also really good. It almost guarantees a win going first when you see it, because your opponent will almost always play right into it, especially if they don't open Spell Destruction right off the bat. Nobody expects it, especially when they don't know what you're playing. The only time this did not help me was when I was playing against a Sub-Terror deck, and all they wanted to do was set and normal summon, so it never helped, because if you don't know the card, it activates a field spell from deck when your opponent special summons. It can't be hand trapped, it's just amazing. Next we got, of course, the 3 Field Barrier. This is a must in any Mystic Mine build. It'll protect you from Twin Twisters and Harpy's Feather Duster because your opponent has to destroy it and then destroy your Mystic Mine after that. Of course, the Cosmic Cyclone will hurt a lot when you have this on, because then you won't be able to activate another Mystic Mine if they hit that with you. So you want to try to make sure you have a spell negate ready when you play your Field Barrier, but sometimes it is best just a Mystic Mine Field Barrier. And then of course you have your 1 Terraforming. This is a must, of course. If it were any more, the deck would be broke. Moving on, I do have a Pot Engine going here. I run 3 Pot of Extravagance. If I had Prosperity, I'd probably play that instead, but this works fine along with 3 Pot of Duality. These together are fine. If I had Prosperity, I'd probably play that, but this worked out just fine. Then going into our 2 ofs, I run 2 Goddess Gold's Oracle. This card is busted. I just look at my opponent's top 3 cards every turn and put them back in any order. This just completely locks your opponent out of playing, and it's super unfun for your opponent, sometimes for you, but that's alright. This helped me resolve Final Countdown twice during the tournament, and it was pretty awesome. This card's a little busted though, I'm not gonna lie. Next up we have Mystical Space Typhoon. This card's really great. I didn't play it when I first played Mystic Mine, but now I'm playing it at 2, and I have another in the side. This card saved me from an Anti-Spell Fragrance, as well as a set Solemn Judgment once in the tournament. It's really great. It can really save you, and you can just hit blind back row. I've used it to destroy my own set cards, like a Dead Demise of the Land or a Prohibition that wasn't doing anything anymore. So it's really versatile, and it's better than Cosmic Cyclone because you don't want to lose the life point advantage. Next up we have Prohibition. This card's really great, especially when played with Goddess Gold's Oracle, because you can use Oracle, look at their next card, and call it out with Prohibition, and then they can't use it. This won me a game in the top 8 against Drytron because they had a Twin Twister on top of their deck. So I just called Twin Twister, put that card on top, and then they drew a card they couldn't play. It's great going first too when you don't know what your opponent has. If you have Mystic Mine and Field Barrier, you can just call Cosmic Cyclone and then you're protected. But this card actually won me second place because my opponent sided in Anti-Spell Fragrance and it really hurt. So during the third round, I sided in my third Prohibition and then I drew it going first. So I just called Anti-Spell Fragrance and then he couldn't use it, and I'm pretty sure he drew it too because he didn't look very happy about me calling it. Card is just super good. It can stop a lot of things. I've even used it to call out Ash Blossom, and then I play Terraforming to add my Mystic Mine. So if you know how to use it, you can really get a lot done using this card. For our win conditions or one-of spells, we have Cauldron of the Old Man and Final Countdown. These cards are great. You don't need any more than just the two. And then, of course, we also played the One Left Arm Offering. This card's also really good. It helps me search for these two cards, especially when I'm worried about decking out. It really helps. I've also ended my first turn with just Mystic Mine, Left Arm Offering, Banish my hand, add Field Barrier, play Field Barrier. Especially when you're desperate, that can really come in clutch, especially when people aren't sided in already. You can win you the game just with that. Next up with our monsters, we have 3 Dimension Shifter. This card's great going first or second. Going first, it's kind of an insurance, chain it with anything. Going second, it'll pretty much shut down the first turn of pretty much every deck in the format. It's just great. And next up, we only have 6 monsters in the main deck, but it's not Planetary Pathfinder, it's 3 Mono Iwatu. This card's great. Once it hits the field, it just turns everything off. When I go against Drytron, I keep this in just because it's so powerful against them. You just, Mono Iwatu, Mystic Mind, end phase, this goes back to hand, their monsters stay turned off. It can't be better. And now getting into the traps, of course, you have to have the one Metaverse, but this card can be ashed, so you have to be wary of that. And then for the counter traps, of course, you have to run these. You have 3 Solemn Judgment. This is probably the best out of the 3 that we run. And then we have Dark Bribe. This is probably the worst out of the 3. And then we have 3 Curse Seal of the Forbidden Spell. Now this one actually won me a couple games. It's pretty good. Solemn Judgment, of course, is the best, but Dark Bribe is actually the worst because it gives your opponent that draw. You might end up in a situation where even with Goddess Score's Oracle, you have to give them that draw of the card you don't want them to have, just because they get to draw a card every time you use it. But it's still great, you need to run all of them. The extra deck doesn't really matter that much, but my extra deck would make more sense when you see my side deck. Started off, we have 3 Totally Awesome. This card's great, it's an Omni Negate. Then we have the 1 Abyss Dweller here. You could summon it regularly, but it never really comes up. Then you have the Cyber Dragon Infinity, the Falcon here, unaffected by card effects, pretty great. The Mech King, and then you have another Super Quantal. Just high attack monsters, and it'll make more sense when you see the side deck. But we have the Borreload and the Bee Trooper, these are great as well. And then you have the 3 Last Warrior, 1 Nat Beast, 1 Beazle. Once again, the extra deck doesn't really matter, you don't have to play any of these, but it'll make more sense when I show you my side deck. And to start off the side deck, we have our one-of spells. We have the 1 Prohibition, the 1 Mystic Space Typhoon, and the 1 Left Arm Offering. Mystic Space Typhoon comes up a lot, especially if your opponent's playing a lot of back row. But the Prohibition here is like the real OG of this deck, of the side deck at least. Especially when it's the 3rd game and your opponent keeps siding in those broke cards that just really hurt, like Imperial Order, etc., Anti-Spell. Prohibition's great. Like I said earlier, this came in clutch and won me second place because I saw it and I called Anti-Spell and it won me the whole game. It's just great. You need the 3rd one in your side. You don't really need it in the main though. And then next up, 3 Dark Ruler. I always side this in going second against Drytron. It almost always wins me the game when I see it. It's just amazing. And it's free basically in this deck. There's no reason you wouldn't play it. Now for some extra spice, some extra seasoning, we got 3 Waking the Dragon. This card's hilarious. It's kind of broke, but it can be ashed. It's great, but I never actually really used it because every time I drew it, I already locked my opponent out at that time, or when I sided in, I just didn't see it. But it's hilarious. I'm probably going to keep it in just for laughs, see if I can pull it off one day. It'd be pretty funny if I did. And then next up, we have the 3 Heavy Storm Duster, as well as the 3 Evenly Matched. These are just for back row decks, just blow your opponent out of the water. It really helps a lot. It won me a couple games, both of these cards did. And that's it for the side deck there. And as far as my matchups went, My first match was against Tri-Brigade Zoo, pretty much clapped them 2-0. That was the only guy who actually got pissed at me. It was pretty funny, actually. Second match was against some Exodia deck. I clapped them pretty easily. Third match was against Prank Kids. They got clapped really hard. Then I went against Phantom Knight deck. He ended up winning because I bricked going first, and then he had the anti-spell, and I didn't see my Prohibition or my cards to get out of that. And then the last match before the top 8 was against Subterror, and they actually won too, just because they just want to set and summon. They never special summon to activate Demise of the Land, so I ended up losing that match. But then top 8, it was against a Drytron deck. I beat them pretty easily as well. Then I rematched the Phantom Knight player and ended up beating him that time. And then the final match was Sky Striker, and they too owed me as usual. And that about wraps up my deck list here. Thanks for watching the video. Hopefully this will help you build a Mystic Mind deck if you're looking to do that. But I mean, if it's your first deck, I wouldn't suggest this just because people hate this card a lot. But if you're looking for wins, this deck will pull you wins, and it's pretty great. Some people will get mad, but most people will just accept their fate. Well, that's all though. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more.